His inability to say words sometimes worries me tremendously. He is having trouble word finding when he said United States instead of United States. These aren't words, these aren't slips of the tongue. These are words, he can't find them. And this is happening over and over again. Comedians joke about it, but it's not a joking matter. I think there is a neurological issue that is not being addressed. And if he had an MRI of his head over there, I would be very pleased, because I think he needs it.
Is that something that could have happened in the 2-hour time he was there?
Yes, it certainly could. And it's the worry that I have is that maybe he's having small strokes. And, we had that once before in the White House when Woodrow Wilson was president. His inability to find words is peculiar and has not been explained. And I think one has to think of it as a possible neurological issue.
That was renowned physician Dr. David Scheiner. Do you know when that was recorded? You know when that interview took place? In 2019. That's when Donald Trump mysteriously was taken to a hospital. All of the corporate media then tried to cover up what was really going on. They did that interview, but then they let Donald Trump's team basically spin it as this was just a routine visit. And MeidasTouch wasn't around then, or we would have brought way more attention to it. But in light of Donald Trump's conduct now, talking about conversations with fictitious murderers like Hannibal Lecter, or talking about whether he'd rather be eaten by sharks or electrocuted, or when he went to the Capitol Hill Club this past week and he started saying things like, Nancy Pelosi's daughter is a wacko, and she told me if things were different, Nancy and I would have been perfect together. There's an age difference, though, and just strange, false things like that. And the way he can't say basic words or put coherent thoughts together over and over again are raising these massive red flags, but the flags were raised before, and it is not something we can ignore. Nancy Pelosi was interviewed this past week, and here's what she just said. She said this last night, by the way, where she said, seriously, some sort of health or medical intervention needs to happen. This is serious, and perhaps Donald Trump's family members don't love him. I mean, look, you have the politicians like Lindsey Graham who are posting things like that. Happy birthday, Trump. Your golf game has never been stronger, and America needs you now more than ever. Give this. They all need interventions, I think. But here's what Nancy Pelosi just said. Here, play this clip.
So if we're going to do psychoanalysis of them, I think we have to have them in person in front of some healthcare professionals. But I do wish there would be an intervention from his family, assuming they love him beyond the resources, assuming that they love him, that they would intervene, that the Republican Party would have an intervention. They have become a cult to a thug. And that is really a tragedy for the grand old party and what they were.
And folks, this is not a joke. It's not, oh, does he have dementia? There's some serious medical issues with this individual who can't put together coherent thoughts and sentences. We know both of his parents suffered seriously from dementia. We are seeing all of the warning signs there. Let me show you another portion of that interview with Dr. Scheiner from 2019, and it's very, very revealing. Here, play this clip.
President Obama's former doctor. So Dr. Scheiner, does it, I guess, they're saying everything's fine. He wanted to get ahead of things because it's going to be a busy, busy election year. And so does it sound plausible to you that this would be part of his routine physical?
Absolute nonsense. You don't take a part of your physical one time and then a month or two later take another part of your physical. I've never heard of anything like that. And also his physical, for the kinds of things he needs, the whole thing could have been done at the White House. There was no reason. Blood tests, electrocardiogram, everything could have been done. He's had stress tests done before. He's had, there's no procedure that was a part of a routine exam that could not have been done in the White House. So that's absolute balderdash. I think he had what I would call not an emergency necessarily, but an urgency. Something went wrong. Now, maybe he had chest pain. Maybe he had some neurological. I think he is someone who has some neurological issues, which no one has ever really addressed. And I think it's quite possible that his physician did not feel that he could handle it himself. Now, his physician is not an internist, as is usually the case in primary care. His physician is a trained ER physician. So it may be that he sent him to Walter Reed for a problem that he did not feel that he could handle as well as was necessary.
Right. There needs to be more discussion and more conversations like that. I mean, take a look. This is what Donald Trump was saying, as he likes to. Remember when Donald Trump was calling Nikki Haley Nancy Pelosi, and then also falsely blaming Nikki Haley, who he was calling her Nancy Pelosi, and then saying that Nikki Haley was responsible for January 6th because Trump falsely says that Nancy Pelosi caused it. Remember, this was just a few months ago. Play this clip.
Never reports the crowds, you know. By the way, they never report the crowd on January 6th. You know, Nikki Haley, you know, did you know they destroyed all of the information, all of the evidence, everything, deleted and destroyed all of it, because of lots of things. Like Nikki Haley is in charge of security. We offered her 10,000 people.
And remember, that then became like a major part of his speech, and saying, oh, I interpose. I love to interpose the names because they're both the same to me. Here, play this clip.
I have to be very, very careful. We have many of them. I purposely mix up like a name like Bird Brain. You know who Bird Brain is, right, Nikki? With Nancy Pelosi. I put them in because they're interchangeable in my mind. And except I have to say, I shouldn't say this about a semi-Republican, but I think Pelosi's probably a little bit smarter, actually. It's too bad to say. But you know what? So you interchange them, and then they go out with stories. I cannot be sarcastic, so I try not to be. I just did that thing for the first time in like 2 weeks because it's a disaster. Guaranteed, the fake news, the enemy of the people, will say, he could not find his way off the stage.
That's not normal. That's not normal.
This episode of the MeidasTouch podcast is brought to you by Manuka honey, also known as honey with superpowers. Let me share something sweet with you, and I mean really sweet. It's something that's become a staple in my routine, and I think you are going to love it. I'm talking about Manuka honey. When I say honey, you might be picturing those bear-shaped bottles in the supermarket, but that is not what this is. Manuka honey is single origin, rich, creamy, and the most delicious honey you've ever had. It's supercharged with unique antioxidants and prebiotics, and is 3 times more than your average honey. Manuka honey supports immunity, aids digestion, boosts energy, and helps balance inflammation. It's a game changer, and all you need is 1 to 3 teaspoons a day. On top of that, Manuka honey has a natural antibacterial compound called MGO, only found in Manuka honey. So if you're looking for something simple and delicious to add to your wellness routine, we found your new healthy habit. And now it's easier than ever to try Manuka honey with the starter kit. Just head to manukora.com/Meidas to get $25 off. The starter kit comes with an MGO 850 plus Manuka honey, 5 honey travel sticks, a wooden spoon, plus a guidebook. Now, I love the jar and squeeze bottle, but the extra pack of compostable honey sticks is perfect for whenever you're on the go. You could bring them with you when you're traveling or need a quick snack running errands, and they are the perfect energy boost if you're out for a run or at the gym. That's manukora.com/Meidas to get $25 off your starter kit. This is the ultimate honey. Indulge and try some honey with superpowers from Manuka. Look, this stuff is amazing and really provides the pump I've been looking for. I look forward to Manuka every morning. Make sure you click the link in our description or head to manukora.com/Meidas and try some out today.
When Donald Trump is part of his stump speech that he gives, when he attacks Nancy Pelosi and he mocks the fact that Nancy Pelosi's husband was almost murdered by a MAGA terrorist who's been convicted, who's guilty. We know what went down. And Trump has the audacity to go on stage and mock the attempted murder of Nancy Pelosi's husband, and somehow corporate media acts like, oh, well, it's just politics. It's politics. What are we talking about here? This is part of Donald Trump's stump speech. Here, play this clip.
We had no terror during my administration. The only terror we had was Nancy Pelosi, who's a crazed lunatic. She's a lunatic. She is a crazed lunatic. What the hell was going on with her husband? Let's not ask. Let's not ask. I'll withdraw that statement. By the way, she's got a wall around her house. Obviously, in that case, it didn't work very well, did it? It didn't work.
And by the way, going back to Dr. Scheiner for a second, let me just give you Dr. Scheiner's CV. Dr. Scheiner graduated from Princeton University and gained his MD degree from Columbia University's College of Physicians and Surgeons, subsequent to which he practiced internal medicine in Chicago for over 40 years with Hyde Park Associates, where his partner, Quinton Young, was the personal physician to Martin Luther King. Okay, that's who he is right there. But here's what we have happening. We have right-wing media, Fox, the whole Murdoch establishment. First off, other corporate media, mainstream media, whatever you want to call them, they don't want to touch the Donald Trump has dementia, Donald Trump is mentally unfit, Donald Trump has cognitive issues. They don't want to touch that. They want to both sides it. Then on the other hand, what does the right-wing media do? They manipulate video footage to attack President Biden. Now look, let's be real. President Biden's old. He's 81 years old. He doesn't talk as quick. He doesn't move as quick. He needs, he has to deal with things that people who are 80-year-old have to deal with. When has it been acceptable, though, in our country, number one, just to be ageist and to go after people who are older just for their age? That's despicable. That's not something that we should do at all. President Biden speaks very coherently. He had a stutter growing up. He occasionally stutters. But in an hour speech, there are coherent, complex thoughts and policies. He surrounds himself with very smart people. But the right-wing media, they will edit the footage, or they will show a footage where President Biden's like talking to a skydiver who's 10 feet away. They'll edit out the skydiver and they will make it their front cover. President Biden is caught talking to nobody. He's meandering because Trump meanders. So the right-wing media needs to go into propaganda overdrive and put on the front page of their propaganda newspaper things like meander in chief. Biden embarrasses the U.S. with confused wanderings at World Conference. How dare you? President Biden represented the United States with dignity at the G7. He gave an impassioned, incredible speech. And during this speech, President Biden talked about a 10-year security deal with Ukraine. President Biden has rallied the world together. It was actually a great speech that he gave, but this is what they do. The same way the New York Post will take statements made from Chinese spies and Russian spies, quite literally people who want to destroy our country, have it laundered through MAGA Republican Congress members, and then they run on their propaganda pieces to try to condition America to an authoritarian takeover by Donald Trump, Joe bribing, and they lie and say, look, there's all these audio recordings of Biden getting bribes, which is 100% false, provably false. A Russian spy and a Chinese spy laundering information through the Republican Party, and you put that on the front page cover of an American newspaper? Are you kidding me? And meanwhile, you have Donald Trump, the leader of the Republican Party, a weak wannabe authoritarianism who clearly has serious cognitive issues. Now, whether that's dementia, whether there have been mini strokes, there is something sick going on there, and it's serious. It is serious stuff, and it needs to be discussed more. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 3 million together.
Enough! Send him to the big house, not the White House. Get the new exclusive tees, mugs, and stickers right now at store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.